Coming to you live from the Motor City of Detroit, this is Get Off My Lawn Live with your host, Eric Buckner. Brought to you by the Nighthawk Network. Nighthawk Network. Our voices for our people.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, E. Beasley. I'm here with Hugh Lee, and this is Get Off My Lawn Live special edition. Welcome, everybody. Hopefully, you're having a good evening out there and Facebook, the YouTube world. We are here to tell you about this week's show and some of the things that's been going on in the Nighthawk Network, of course. But also today, there's a special edition of Get Off My Lawn Live as we will transition from the live show to the GameTime Audible show. For those of you who are fans of the show, you know that we had a few technical difficulties last Wednesday, so we had to end the show early. So we are going to bring GameTime Audible to you this evening, courtesy of the Nighthawk Network, of course, and get into some of the things we talked about on that show, but some of the recent understandings. As you see, Hugh the Sports Guru is busy doing some things in regards to the show, getting some information because free agency is now in the NFL and things are constantly moving and flowing, and he's going to try to bring you the absolute latest on everything that's going on. So So that being said, folks, we are here. We are going to talk about what we can talk about. We got our first comment of the day. What's up, fellas and fabulous people? How you doing? JoJo in the house.
Was good.
Good to see from you, my guy. You know, I always appreciate you checking in with us.
Always love
people in the Facebook Get Off My Lawn Live support group, as well as this young lady right here. Miss Pat is in the building.
Hey, hello, Pat.
Pat, how are you? You are right in time. We are about to talk about what's the latest going on now. As you know, last week I started back after taking a short break from the show. However, of course, I was on other people's shows, but I did Get Off My Lawn Live last week. And shout out to Miss Elena Miller and Miss Letitia Howard Williams. They were my guests on the show last week, and they did an excellent job. Of course, they are the ladies of the Girl Stop podcast, which should be available to you sometime shortly tomorrow or Tuesday, as in the latest episode. But you can go back there on my Get Off My Lawn Live Nighthawk Network page and check out the latest episode of Girl Stop Podcast. I am looking forward to having them on the show once again, and they will be on a couple of the other network shows sometime soon, so you can check them out on that as well. Again, shout out to you, Elena Miller and Letitia Williams. Thank you for doing the show last week. I appreciate it. Off My Lawn Live. It will be me, basically. No co-host this particular time around, but we will be talking about a couple very important topics. One, we're going to be talking about the Biden stimulus plan that was passed on Thursday. Of course, for all of those who know by now, there is the stimmy, as we call it, the $1,400 of money that's being paid out to most Americans. And then also, of course, the renewal of the unemployment benefits till September 7th, which is helpful. But there's also a lot of things in that bill that we don't know about that will be beneficial to you as well. And we want to bring you some of those things in regards to some of the programs and things implemented because of the Biden relief plan that might be beneficial to you or your family or the business that you own. So we want to talk about that, do a little deeper dive into that. Also, we want to know about what you did with Stimmy or what you're going to do with Stimmy. How y'all going to spend Stimmy, y'all? Are you going to blow it all? Are you going to save it? Are you going to invest it? Are you going to buy something special for the house or the kids or what have you? Are you going to wait and add it to your tax refund money and really do something spectacular? We kind of want to know. No judgment zone. We just want to know what you're doing with it. I'm going to actually give you some understanding, a couple small things that I'm looking to do with my stimulus, at least part of it. And one of them I want to encourage all of you to do as well. What might that be? We'll talk about it on Tuesday, okay? Meanwhile, the following week, we are looking to have a young lady who is a YouTube superstar as far as I'm concerned. But she is a YouTube personality. She is also a songster. She is also a person who is a model. And she basically is just a fun person. I'm looking very forward to having her. She is actually going to be the first international guest that we have here on Get Off My Lawn Live, Miss Jean Dale from Toronto, Canada. will be my guest hopefully in a couple weeks. She has confirmed that she's doing the show, and hopefully we will have her on there so you guys can meet her and get to talking about what she's doing on YouTube and some of her future projects. I'm looking forward to that. And the following week, Miss Pat, who has so graciously put me on to a beautiful young lady that's got a lot of good things going on in the Baltimore area. I'm looking to have her on the show. She is 11 years old, I believe, Miss Pat. Miss Pat is there. She can give me the info right quick. But yeah, I'm looking to have her on the show the following week so you guys can get to know her as well. Okay, Miss Pat is already chiming in fact, about what she's doing with her STEMI. She's saying, I am going to save my money, and when I get it, I have to buy a car and move. Well, Miss Pat, that's a very responsible thing to have to do and need to do. So if you're using your STEMI for that, I'm not mad at that at all.
For sure.
That is a good thing. So anyway, that is what's going on with that. Awesome, Eric. No, awesome, Miss Pat. Thank you for introducing that young lady, or at least her mom, to me today, and I'm looking forward to talking to her on the show. So yeah, Miss Pat, we'll talk about that more tomorrow. But I would like to have her on the show 3 weeks from Tuesday. Also, one of the people that I'm looking to have on the show as well in upcoming weeks are the people that are going to be doing the show called The Gospel According to Pride. So shout out to you, Pride Hunter. If you are watching right now, he is in the process of getting his final things together for the show. And hopefully sometime before the end of the month or even the beginning of next month, we'll be bringing his show as well as Israel's Room to you as well. Yes, Miss Pat, thank you. So that being said, that is what's going on in terms of the Get Off My Lawn live show. Now, of course, last night I was a guest on the show that we know as Dish and Tea with Big Meech and Aunt Nikki and the Big Red Guy Ally. And we had an awesome conversation about a variety of different topics. I would definitely encourage you guys to go back and look at that episode last night. I think you would like very much. Wow, how awesome, Frank. Congratulations. Thank you. And JoJo saying it's a blessing continually flavor and our favorite responsibility is first and continually have a responsible fun with it too. Absolutely, JoJo. Absolutely. Like I said, it's good if you're going to have a little fun with it. You know, if you blow it all and you still got means to do other things, I'm not mad at that either. But yeah, another thing we're going to talk about on Get On My Line Live Tuesday also is the latest, of course, in regards of vaccination. As you know, the president announced on Thursday in his Oval Office address that we are setting ourselves up so that every American that's over the age of 16 will be available to take the vaccine by May 1st, with the plan being that there will be enough people vaccinated by the 4th of July where small gathering, keyword being small gathering, will be able to take part in the 4th of July holiday celebration. So I want to talk about that. At this point, we know some people want to take the vaccine, some people don't want to take the vaccine. Some people are still on the fence about the vaccine. I kind of want to know where you guys are. I'm going to give you guys some insight into where my thought process is with it as well. So we'll talk about all that on the show. That being said, that is what we talk about for Get Off My Lawn Live. What we're going to do now is take some commercial messages. And when we get back, we're actually going to start to have the discussion in regards to our other show, that being GameTime Audible. As you see, the sports guru is feverishly tapping away there. You see the grins and smiles on his face. Apparently, there's a lot going on. He wants to get to talking to you about it. We're going to give him the opportunity to do that. So after these commercial messages, we will be back. We'll Get Off My Lawn Live, the Game Time edition, actually. And we will go from there, all right? Let's do that. But first, I want to bring to you Hey Bitches and what's going on in terms of that show tomorrow. Let's talk about that for a minute, okay? We'll be back.
Hey bitches, join me for Hey Bitches Live, Monday, March the 15th, 2021 at 9 p.m. sharp on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. My special guest for the evening will be Chris J., the host of Coffee with Chris.
Hello, I'm Chris J., show host, photographer, and DJ, and I will be your guest on Hey Bitches Live, Monday, March 15th, 2021 at 9 p.m.
Hey Bitches Live is a Nighthawk Network presentation.
Viewer discretion is advised. Behind the Blue Curtain, Saturdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. Unscripted talk on police reform and race relations.
And now, Behind the Blue Curtain's law enforcement liaison, retired 32-year Chicago police veteran, homicide detective, former commander, sergeant, grant writer, lecturer, and adjunct professor, Joseph J. Mosley.
Behind the Blue Curtain's minister of common sense, former 12-year Fort Worth police officer, educator, voice of reason, and unapologetic practitioner of sound judgment, the young scholar, LaRonda Young.
Behind the Blue Curtain's co-host, fact checker, and investigative journalist is Isidoro Rodriguez.
Nighthawk Network presents Pastor Sean Love. Pastor Sean Love, devoted father and husband, a residing pastor at the River Rouge Bible Assembly in River Rouge, Michigan. Join him as he gives us messages from God's Word, Bible study, and encouragement. You can find him on YouTube under Sean Love.
Let's talk.
All right, you guys, we are back. This is Get Off My Lawn Live special GameTime Audible edition. I am your host, Eric Buckner, along with the guy himself, the sports guru, Hugh Lee. We are about to actually get into the GameTime Audible portion of the show, though we will take a couple comments in regards to what we're going to talk about Tuesday. Yes, ma'am, I'm so happy we get ours and enjoying it. I'll be so glad to get mine, JoJo. Aunt Nikki, I love her. I love Aunt Nikki too, Miss Pat. Talk about some of the things we might do with young Stimmy once it pops into our bank account. For those of you who have not quite got it yet. But nonetheless, we are here now, about to do GameTime Audible, and we're going to start it off by talking about free agency. We're in the free agency period in NFL, and it's basically jumping off already. You see the phone is going off crazy over there, Hugh. You see he happy like a kid in the candy store Christmas Day. So we let him get into it. So that being said, Hugh, let us know where we at. What's the latest?
First and foremost, man, it was funny to me and you were talking earlier and you was like, well, Hugh, I don't really think that much going to happen today. And I said, wait a minute, not so fast. Pump your brakes. We just seen that the Packers re-signed Aaron Jones to a 4-year, $48 million deal. And that's really big for them because outside of, you got the receivers on the team, the main ones we know is basically the household names. It's like the Alchemania St. Browns of the world and the Scantling dudes are not really that significant, But I just feel like when you put Aaron Jones on the team, he can run and he can catch the ball, man. Those type of weapons like the a la Le'Veon Bells. And, you got guys like the James White, who's not really that great of a runner, but who can catch the ball like wide receivers, man. And I definitely can't leave out Alvin Kamara. And that's going to come up to another one of the topics coming on and what I just saw in some juicy news. But, yeah, they needed that guy on the team, man. I just feel like Aaron Rodgers being happy makes Green Bay happy. You don't want to get into a Russell Wilson or a deal right now. We already had some stuff going on with them when they signed at quarterback, last season when they knew that they were looking for a wide receiver. Another thing that happened was the Bills is keeping their guard. He's staying at home. He just re-signed the deal. John Feliciano, he just signed a 3-year, $17 million deal. So, that's good because we were talking about that earlier. The main thing that we looked at is a lot of people think today by it being like a free agent frenzy in football, they want to see all the wheeling and dealing and the guys getting the big deals and making the splashes in free agency. But right now, I was just telling E-Buck, I said, man, the best thing right now for the day is the quiet really before the storm, which will be Monday. I said, I would like to see more guys get signed and stay home because about time 401 hit tomorrow. It's really about to get crazy. But I'm about to get off into the next thing. The biggest news is now the New Orleans Saints will definitely have to look for a new quarterback because Drew Brees just announced his retirement today.
Wow, now that's big. That is big. Okay, first of all, let me go back a little bit. We talk about Aaron Jones. Basically, Aaron Jones, I would safely say, was the most complete running back that was available in this year's free agency
Absolutely.
market. That being said, a lot of people feel like that he might have been overpaid in this thing by Green Bay, considering that he is not what you would necessarily consider when you consider every down back. Basically, Ezekiel Elliott type back, where basically they're good at running, they're good at catching, they're good at blocking and scoring and what have you. He is not the typical prototypically built running back in that regard. He's not a big running back, but in the same token, he's not necessarily a scat back either. Say like a Barry Sanders or running back of that nature. So there's that. So that being said, for them to pay him that type of money for a 4-year period, considering that nowadays running backs are considered a dime a dozen for the most part, that's actually a very good deal. And from what I understand, he got some guaranteed money in that as well.
He most definitely did, man. You got to keep the home guys happy, man. And he got the $13 million signing bonus on top of that as well. So I just feel like he happy. I know Aaron Rodgers happy. So it's just really good to have him go back home, man, and stay there in Green Bay because and I know they were already licking their chops with the Miami Dolphins. They definitely was looking into getting him, which I felt like they had some serviceable running backs, but to get Aaron Jones and definitely get him from the Green Bay Packers would have been huge. But yeah, so long for that, Miami. Sorry, got to go back to the drawing board on that note.
Okay, as you see, Miss Patterson, I was so shocked and sad to hear Marvin Martin. Actually, Miss Pat, we are aware of that. We're going to do a special tribute to Marvin Hagler here in a little bit on the show because what we're going to do is we're going to honor him and talk about his boxing legacy and also give you guys a little special treat. We're going to show one of his greatest boxing matches, at least one round of said match, that match between him and Thomas Hearns. So looking forward to show that. He sure did. He got a big signing on bonus. Absolutely, Miss Pat. Most certainly did. Yeah, I thought you might like that. I think you're going to enjoy that, Miss Pat. But anyway, back to the free agency. Now, here's the thing. It's significant for Buffalo to sign their offensive linemen because, of course, that's going to be another premium this year. There's a lot of teams looking to not only upgrade at quarterback, but to upgrade the offensive line because they look at what happened in the Super Bowl between
Yes.
Tampa Bay and Kansas City and the fact that one of the main reasons why they felt like Kansas City lost that game was because the offensive line that particular day was not protective at all, and it led to all the craziness that ensued in terms of Kansas City in regards to trying to score. So that being said, since we're in the free agency and the team to beat obviously is Tampa Bay, we got to talk about them and what they got going on in terms of free agency and franchise tags and whatnot. What do you know about that, Hugh?
Right now, they were saying the main thing they were trying to do is keep the in-house guys. We seen right before everything started, with the free agency, you start seeing guys getting signed who got released. They kept Levante David there for 2 years, $25 million. Tom Brady signed his bonus and he has like $19.3 million, free money now with the salary cap with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The best part about that is it frees up money for guys who they're trying to keep on the team. I still feel like that the a la Rob Gronkowski's he would give a discount just to play with Tom. So as well as Antonio Brown, but the guy who figured that he took the risk several times. Recently, he played on his last year of his contract, and then he went and played under the franchise tag, which is Shaq Barrett, the coveted linebacker. They will have to pay him in this free agency. And I think by Tom Brady still being on the team, if he can get a good 2 to 3 year contract, he'll be satisfied. But they're just trying to free up enough money right now that they can keep Gronk, Antonio Brown, and I don't really know about Leonard Fournette. Remember, I was telling you that's a toss-up due to the fact that You have a Florida native who want to come back home. Not only do he want to come back home, he want to play with one of the best quarterbacks ever, which he played under. He should have won that Super Bowl MVP that year, but he ended up losing it to Tom Brady. Of course, that is James White. He's a free agent, and that's who they feel like they think that they're going to try to sign in Tampa Bay for a friendly discount, of course, to play with a championship team.
Okay, and Miss Pat and Tom Brady is the man. He got that free money. Absolutely. I mean, at this point in Tom Brady's career, there's nothing else he has truly left to accomplish in terms of his NFL life. He's won 7 Super Bowls. He's been to 10. He's made his share of money. Not to mention the fact that we all know he is married to the beautiful Giselle, the supermodel, who basically still makes more money than him despite all that. So at this point, we just waiting to see what Tom got in store for us next. But that being said, with him accepting a deal that, mind you, will have him play until he's the age of 48, which in terms of NFL is just unheard of, just ridiculous even, particularly when you are a quarterback, one who has played 21 seasons already. So there's that. Now let's get back before we move forward and talk about that Drew Brees thing for a minute. I mean, I don't think it comes as no big surprise to folks that Drew Brees has decided to retire. At this point, he's won his Super Bowl. He's looking at the landscape of the NFL. He's looking at his team, and he's seeing that because he's in that same division with Tom Brady, and all they seem to be doing is upgrading and getting even more talent, the likelihood that he would not make it to the next Super Bowl within the time that he is set up to, I think that led to his decision. I also think that the injuries that have piled up with him the last few years definitely played into that decision as well. Remember, Drew Brees is also a father, and his children are starting to get into those formative years, 10, 11, 12, and what have you. So I'm sure that plays into his decision. And not to mention the fact we know for years now, outside of the NFL has been calling him, and particularly the booth. And so because we know he already has a deal in place with, I believe it's Fox, that he has a deal in place with to work in the booth with them, or actually on the analyst desk that will pay him probably similar numbers. I mean, it makes only total sense that he would go ahead, take that job in the booth, accept the numbers that he have, and just basically wait for that yellow jacket in 5 years.
Yeah, that'd be a good move for him, man. I feel like too. The salary cap has killed those guys over there in New Orleans, man. There was so many deals that they got done. They were trying to win, and they was trying to get one last hurrah with Drew Brees. And now that he retired, he freed up a lot of money too, like $23 million. And guys are restructuring contracts like crazy now to try to get under the salary cap. But I think they dug themselves in such a big hole that there's no recovering. So. Yeah, I think
you also got to consider, Hugh, that unlike most teams, they still set up to succeed in that they do have a quarterback. We got on one hand, we got Jameis Winston that's still there that could possibly be your starter, but we also have the quarterback Tatum that they've been basically grooming these last several years. So there may be either or as starting quarterback, or hell, because Sean Payton is so innovative, he may set up a system where they both the starting quarterback and play it like some of these college teams do in the opening stages of the year. So who knows what'll happen with that? Not to mention you got Kamara and other. I mean, there's wildcat possibilities. You definitely can't count out the New Orleans Saints at this point, based on how they're constructed at the moment, even with Drew Brees being gone. But hold on, Miss Pat is saying, what you both think about number 21 Ingram from the Ravens being traded? What's your thoughts on that, Hugh?
Oh yeah, Ingram. When he left the team, it surprised me, man. I didn't feel like they were going to let him walk. But then when you look at it too, man, you had the young kid coming out of Ohio State, man, as the running back.
Dobbins, that's correct.
And Dobbins is on a whole nother level right now, man. I just feel like with him, and they already had Gus on the team, the Gus bus. I didn't think that they were going to keep him because you've seen how well J.K. Dobbins played, man. I didn't think that he was going to excel that fast. But most times, if you get a first or a second round running back, then that means you can plug them and play, and they're ready to play. But I think with the injuries too, with Mark Ingram, you know, he had a lot of injuries at the beginning of his career, and it's hard to catch up with him again. But that actually was a blessing in disguise because that gave J.K. Dobbins a chance to really excel. And now I feel like they're going to do really well with that running tandem with him and with Gus Williams. So I think that now it was probably the best time for them, man. They're going to be able to free up some salary money with that as well once they release him and let him go somewhere where he can play and start probably.
Well, you also have to remember, folks, that in terms of Dobbins and in terms of Baltimore in general, remember the best running back on the Baltimore Ravens is not a running back at all. It's that young man at quarterback, Jackson.
Mr. Jackson.
It almost makes having multiple backs not necessarily a necessity, because in the end, most of the design runs when it comes to the Ravens offense is designed with him in mind. So that being said, I think you can afford to lose somebody like Ingram to whatever franchise deems him worthy enough to buy. Not to mention the fact that, because of how running backs are still good in the league at this point, it's a passing league. We know this. The teams that run the ball, normally they have a multitude of running backs to go to. So one specific running back does not necessarily make that team. So remember, when Ingram was most effective is when he was the premier back in the offense. Because that is not the case in Baltimore, it probably is better for him to move on. I'm interested to see what team picks him up and if he's willing to accept the role of being just one of the stable running backs as opposed to the everyday 3-down back. So there's that. Yeah, Ms. Pat is saying, I was surprised too. Pat saying, absolutely, Lamar Jackson, Ingram, and him are so close. I was so shocked. And yeah, those two are Lamar Jackson and Ingram. They do appear to be very close. I'm sure they'll still be after the fact. But, it's a business, Miss Pat. Business is business,
I would like for him to reunite with, Kamara over there in New Orleans. Those guys are best friends. They're like brothers. So just to see them kick it in their chemistry when they were on the NFL, it was cool, man. See them on the NFL shows, and they just vibe, man, like they never missed a beat. But, yeah, you never know. But with their salary cap issues, it might be a bigger problem, and I'm not sure. But I feel like wherever he can go, he might just even give them a discount too. But who knows, man? Right now, guys just want to put in work and do their best and do whatever they could to actually contribute and win with the team.
Right. Like I said, for those of you tuning in, this is the special Get Off My Lawn live game time edition of the show. Basically, we did a show preview. Now we are doing a Game Time Audible edition. We had issues with our show on Wednesday, so we have revamped it and brought it to you today so that you can participate in the show. By all means, if you are liking what you're hearing right now, like Miss Pat is doing, check into the comments. Let us know you're there. Let us know how you liking the show and what have you. And we would gladly talk to you about what we got going on in terms of the conversation. Stand by, folks. Deal with here. All right. That being said, now, folks, we are in the process of talking about NFL free agency and franchise tag player discussion as well. We're about to get into that. Thank you, Miss Pat. Miss Pat is saying, how awesome. Awesome show. Thank you. We appreciate you, Miss Pat.
Appreciate you.
So, yeah, what we're doing now is we're going to transition over slightly and talk about some of the people that have been franchise tagged and some of the people that have currently been signed in recent days. One of those I want to get into with you, Sports Guru, is one Mr. Dak Prescott. After many, many, many months, let's just say damn near years of negotiation, him and the Dallas Cowboys have finally settled in on a deal. Can you tell the people about that deal? Let's talk about that for a minute, please, sir.
Man, 4 years, $160 million, man, that's a huge deal, man, for a guy who was well-deserving of it. The problem they had was they probably could have signed him for a lot cheaper, but what he did was he used that to his advantage. He got hurt, and he still has some better numbers than some guys who played the whole season. That lets you know how valuable he was to the Dallas Cowboys, man. I know that people looked at it and said Jerry Jones was giving out money when they signed Ezekiel Elliott to all the money and the Amari Cooper to over $100 million. But at the same time, if those guys can stay together and play, that's the best thing that can happen to them. Make sure the O-lines are still good and healthy. That's one guy I think they're going to definitely get rid of, too. Speaking of the O-line, Tyron Smith, they're going to upgrade on him, too, as well. I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do in the free agency. But I just feel like that was a really good deal for both of them. It more or less hurt Jerry Jones-Levitt just a little bit because not really no huge quarterbacks out there, and you can't plug and play anybody or think a rookie's going to come in and do what Dak did and all the work he put in for the team. So I just feel like the $160 million for here for 4 years, man, it was well-deserved.
I honestly feel, in my opinion, that it was not enough for that young man. I think
Not
they
at
should
all.
have a longer deal for him. I think part of the reason why it's a 4-year deal is because they've always been on the fence as to whether or not he was the quarterback that was needed to make it happen. Keep in mind, in Dallas, because they are investing the type of money that they are into the team, they're not thinking making playoffs. They're not thinking filling the seats. They want championships. And at this point, if they felt like Dak was the guy that was going to lead them to the championship, they would have valued him as much and paid him. The fact that they went out and dealt with a young man who basically has been a model citizen that has done nothing but promote Dallas in a positive light outside of that one incident that we know about of the COVID party that they had back in the day. But that being said, he has not been nearly as problematic as, say, his teammate, one Ezekiel Elliott, and some of the problems he found himself in. But keep in mind, they made sure that it secured him that after he had sat out and decided that he wasn't coming to training camp, they basically determined that they would oblige him and make him one of the highest paid backs in the league. This contract, of course, makes that one of the highest paid per salary per year. But ultimately, because he is a relatively young man still, and he is a quarterback and a valuable commodity, his numbers speak for themselves. I definitely feel like they should have invested more money into signing him long term. That being said, the NFL, the way it's structured, that don't even really matter because in the end, they could all say tomorrow, the hell with it, cut you. Yeah, they take the salary cap hit, but in terms of you getting your money, you getting what you get, and that's it. Now, the interesting thing is how much guaranteed money in this particular deal. Tell them about that, Hugh.
The guaranteed money, man, when I looked at it, I was just checking out too, because I was looking at how they structured this contract too, man. And what I've learned in this contract period, the cap hit that they'll be taking, man, for year, I thought that they're actually still getting a discount, man, because the cap hit 2021 is 22.2. Then it increased to 22 to 33.2. Then in 2023, it's 44.2. That's when he started to get his money. And then it's going to be 2024 where he get the 47.2, where it'll be like the biggest cap hit where with after them 2 years, man, they could just say, hey, man, you can hit the bricks, man, and kick rocks. I don't think that they're going to actually really give him as much afterwards, if he don't play well these next 2 years. But, man, when you give money like a $60 million signing bonus and 126 million in full guarantees. Man, yeah, man, I'm happy for that brother, man. It ain't even a race thing, but how many quarterbacks who were brothers besides Mike Vick who had that type of money, man? A 4-year, $160 million deal. He get the signing bonus, 60 million, and then it's 126 million guaranteed, man. So yeah, man, he's breaking barriers right now. So yeah, it's much deserved. Like you said, I still think they could have reached a little bit more in their pockets on this deal and gave him a little longer contract. But the good thing for Dak is he's still kind of young and he's still in his prime. So it's a possibility if they don't give him what he wants, he can move and go elsewhere.
True enough. Miss Patty checking in. He's very valuable. I thought it was going to be more money. I did too, Miss Pat. As you see, yeah, she says the same. Yes, indeed. So yeah, that's that. Hugh, if you would get into a couple of the people that have been franchise tagged and what you think might happen in terms of them. Let's start with like say Allen Robinson out of Chicago, for example.
Oh yeah, man. I'm glad you said that, E man. You just put another smile on my face because it's something you probably didn't know that I gotta hit you with right now. I'm not
All
gonna
right.
tell you everything going on, man. Allen Robinson might sit out this year, and he is not signing that contract. He said,
Oh,
I
wow.
refuse to sign that franchise tag. That's why when you come to him first, that kind of made me giggle because I love to hear that fact because I still feel like even if they get Russell Wilson, it's a possibility he will sit out. And Russell need all the weapons he can get. So it's like pick your poison, Russ, right now, because if that man don't want to play with you, and he's a huge part of that's basically, I can't even say a huge, he is like 90% of what they have over there.
Okay,
You
well
can
we're gonna dig into that second part of what you said in a minute, but basically right now he has been franchise tagged, which basically means that he cannot sign with any other team. They would have to release him from the franchise tag or release him altogether. Otherwise, he has to sign with that particular franchise being the Bears. That being said, they also have to pay him within the top percentile of the people in his position. in the franchise tag. So according to my numbers here, that means he will make at least $18 million this season for being a wide receiver for the Bears. Now keep in mind, that's pretty damn good money, I think. But then you have to remember, we're talking Chicago. Chicago is one of the bigger franchises in the NFL. They got some of the deeper pockets in terms of ownership. Granted, they all have to deal with the salary cap and what have you. But in terms of people that are under salary in Chicago, they have money to play with. They don't have a lot of big ticket items in terms of salary going on in Chicago. That's why that's one of the places where people like a Russell Wilson is being considered to go. Miss Pat is chiming in. She is saying he's not going to sign that contract. I love Russell Wilson from the Seahawks. Absolutely. And keep in mind, it does appear from the reports that several of the outlets are saying that Chicago is the key in this whole free agent thing, particularly when it comes to quarterbacks, because they're saying that Trubisky is probably not going to be their starting quarterback. They're pretty sure of that. So now they're basically looking for other outlets, and obviously the two big names in terms of who might be traded at this point is one Russell Wilson and, of course, the young man out of Texas, Deshaun Watson. So that being said, do you see either one of those particular quarterbacks making that move to Chicago, Hugh?
I can at least see one of the two guys making it over there. But the scary part is right now that's making it uncomfortable. Like I said, if Allen Robinson, a huge piece of your offense, don't sign, it's going to bring a little trouble. But I feel like, and he even said on when I read earlier that he's willing to sit out some games, because what I feel like happened with Allen Robinson, it was a disconnect over there with Chicago. They don't have faith in him. That's what he felt like. And these are words that was coming out of this man's mouth, to pay him big time wide receiver money. And since they don't want to do that gamble, he's kind of to the point where he's hurt. And I know it's a business. They basically trying to put all their, eggs for, to try to get Russell Wilson. That's one of the big pictures. I feel like they will make Allen Robinson happy because they got a lot of money over there and they got draft capital. But
Well,
yeah.
Here's the thing that I'm looking at in terms of Allen Robinson himself. Now, granted, for Chicago, he was that guy. He was their number one receiver without question, whether they choose to acknowledge it or not. But that being said, he is not your stereotypical number one receiver. He is not basically have big size. He does not have huge speed. He is a good possession receiver. He is obviously a good scoring receiver as well. But that being said, because he doesn't stand out in terms of that, I think that's part of why they're not such a willing participant to pay him that type of money. Not to mention, in order to get the quarterback that they want, they know they're going to have to shell out the big bucks or at least trade for somebody that comes with a high ticket price. Also, remember, Chicago's team is much more designed to be more of a defensive squad. The person that's making the most money in Chicago right now in terms of their squad, if I remember correctly, is one Khalil Mack, of which they struck a big-time deal to get. So that's why I'm considering that they may not make that move on either end because of what it cost them just to get Khalil Mack to begin with.
Yeah, but I think right now they've been so bad in the quarterback market right now, man, and just that position alone, I think that was the worst pick they got. And they got him as a second-round pick, too, and then threw him a little extra money on top of that. I definitely was scratching my head when they got him in the draft, but they're not going to be stuck around with him. I don't think they're going to stick with him because he'll be out the door, but they're just waiting for some type of, situation where he's all in. Because right now he got the no trade clause and all he have to do is take that off and say, okay, this is the team I want to go to. So right now it basically depends on where Russell Wilson's head at because it's all up to him. He got the trade clause in there, the no trade clause, and he can make the deal happen.
Okay, well, here's another thing, Hugh. Let's go back to the whole Texas situation. Now, that's basically becoming quite the cluster snuff in the last few months. J.J. Watt then already made his way up out of there. And at this point, it's looking like Deshaun is saying, I'm not playing here no matter what. That being said, the Texans continue to iterate that they are committed to Deshaun and have no great desire to trade him, even though he has made it very clear he wants to be traded. That being said, do you think he pressures them enough to do so? You think he has to sit out? What do you think? How do you think that's going to play out, Hugh?
I definitely feel like he'll sit out if they don't do anything, right now. And I think right now, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't have any problems with the Houston Texans, but they got a lot of holes to fill, man. A lot of players left the organization. The one thing where they started to crumble is when they let DeAndre Hopkins go to the Cardinals, and you didn't get enough for him. So that was the biggest mistake. So they had to get rid of Bill O'Brien. But on top of that, now it's just Deshaun don't want to be there. Definitely after what happened with J.J. Watt, it's just a sad organization right now, and they're trying to keep him at bay. But I feel like if you could get some type of draft capital, the first or second round pick this year, a first and a third in the future, probably the year after, I would do that because it's like a lot of rebuilding they have to do because it's still holes over there that they have to fill. Even though they just got Marcus Cannon over there as one of the right tackles over there. He might play guard. They made that trade with New England, which Nick Caserio's from there. But yeah, they made a few trades here and there already, but it wasn't nothing big, and I don't think that that'll actually keep Deshaun Watson there. They even got Shaq Lawson over there now. His former Clemson teammate after making the trade earlier, but that won't be enough to keep that man over there.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Okay, I'm sitting here looking at the free agency list. Right quickly, Hugh, let me look at a couple people that you think are going to make a big splash in free agency.
Man, a lot of people who's going to make a big splash to me, I feel like I think it was best that a lot of guys franchise tag some of these guys for one. And I still feel like Trent Williams, man, because if Trent Williams don't get signed, he was the number one guy we seen on the list. And every team can use an offensive tackle. The left tackle is the most important position right now because of the blind side of the quarterback.
Keeping in mind that, most quarterbacks in the NFL are right-handed, so you need that left tackle to protect the side that they're not necessarily going to be paying attention to. So, that's why left tackle is important. But go ahead, Hugh.
Scary part, though, about it is he's getting up there in age, man. He's like 33, but still as a 33-year-old left tackle, he's still one of the best, if not the best, in the league. So I think that's the best thing right now for them to try to maintain him. But I guarantee you if they don't keep him, other teams are going to be looking for him. And just like I was telling you, too, with Houston, all their issues, if they could get somebody over there like that, man, that'll probably persuade Watson just a little bit. I don't know how much, but yeah, man, that old line is horrible over there. But yeah, that's one of my favorite players that was on the board right now in free agency. He's definitely the number one free agent right now. And if any team could get him, man, I could help them in their Super Bowl chances because when you look at it, if you can get a good guy as far as the offensive lineman to go over there and bolster up your line, KC needs on now since they lost Eric Fisher and Schwartz. So, yeah, man, I feel like he's the number one guy on my list, and I think that he's the best person to try to go after.
All right. Another person I'm looking on this list is one Hunter Henry, tight end for the Los Angeles Chargers. What do you see his free agent capital being?
Man, I think it's going to be huge, man. And I know I looked up and I seen as of recently, I'm a Patriots head. They definitely need a tight end, man. They had the worst tight ends. I don't even know most of their names. I knew the one kid, Devin Asiasi, the one from UCLA. He's pretty decent, but I didn't really know, and they didn't really do much. Hunter Henry could go over there and just play, and which now I found out too, Cam will be over there for another year, $14 million. He have incentives in that contract. That could be the best place for him to land because they're tight end friendly. That's a security blanket over there, a need at the position too. I could see him and his draft capital going well because if the Chargers didn't keep him, I feel like they're going to go young. They're in a rebuild stage, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do try to maintain him because whenever Herbert was in trouble last year, that was the go-to guy. So, yeah, I just want to see how that worked out. But surprisingly, they said we don't even have to do anything. We could just let him try to test the free agent market because it's easy to maintain people, but when you let them go and think that you can still get them back under a worse deal, like a lot of teams do so much. They'll say, okay, go out there in the free agency and see what your worth is. Sometimes it helps a team, sometimes it don't.
All righty. So yeah, let me go back a little bit on what you said. Remember, we talked about how Cam Newton got re-signed by the Patriots for the 1 year deal. I must admit, I was kind of surprised by that, Hugh, because I felt like, early on, obviously in the year, that was definitely working for the Patriots. But it seemed like ever since he came up with COVID and then came back, the whole scenario changed for them. And granted, they almost made it to 8-8, but it was the first time they missed the playoffs in damn near 20 seasons, since the Tom Brady era began there. So that being said, I'm surprised they didn't look to just start over in terms of quarterback and either pick up one of these people via trade, say a Watson or a Wilson, or basically just try to move up in the draft and get one of the quarterbacks that's on the top of the board, like say a Justin Fields or something like that.
And they definitely had the cap space too. They're like one of the top 5 teams with cap space. I just was surprised too because no disrespect to Cam. I know they were saying that he had his injuries and he had his lumps, but then I still feel like New England's going to still try to get somebody in there to compete with him because right now they're saying the money that they gave him, they don't still feel like he's going to be the guaranteed starter. I know he's better than Brian Hoyer.
Yeah, and Ms. Pat saying it's about the money. Yeah, I have to agree. Like I said, in the end, they got a good friendly deal out the deal. I mean, keep in mind, Cam Newton is definitely not starving. Between his contract with Carolina and what he got from them last year, he's made good money in the league in his basically about 9 or 10 years that he's been in the league now. But even still, considering he's only like in his mid 30s, you got to figure that he's still probably got a good 2 or 3 years of mileage left on that arm and those legs, so that he probably could have got a better deal somewhere else.
Most definitely.
Again, in terms of the free agents, what is one more person that you think we should be looking out for in terms of that list?
You know me, I'm a homer, man. Kenny Galladay, man. Wherever he go, he gonna be the game changer because he's the top receiver on the list right now.
In my opinion, he should be the number one person in terms of top free agent. They did quite a bit of talking about him today on NFL Network in regards to what he offers. Some of the main teams that have been showing interest in him at this point are the Eagles and the Giants, which I basically feel like would not be in the better interest of Kenny Galladay, but obviously would be definitely in the better interest of those teams that want him, in particular the Eagles.
Yeah, because they definitely need a big time physical receiver over there, man. Alshon Jeffries, I don't even know what's going on with him right now, but I still feel like Kenny Galladay can change any team right now. He's a game changer. One team I know when it comes to money and licking their chops, another team who I've already spoke about. The Miami Dolphins were interested in him, but a team that I feel like he'll fit is the actual Indianapolis Colts. That's another team seeking to try to get a big physical wide receiver because T.Y. Hilton is injury prone.
True. He's been injured several times in the last few seasons. And keep in mind, Galladay, he was hurt a good part of last year with the Lions, but I honestly think that at some point it became more of a business decision with him. He wasn't quite as hurt as he played out to be, but because he played for the Lions and he knew he was going to be a free agent, he definitely wanted to make sure that he was healthy enough to earn that contract that he felt he deserved. At that point, he had checked out of being in Detroit altogether, and he was getting ready for the next come around. Now, another free agent that people aren't talking about as much, and I'm kind of surprised by that, is another wide receiver from Detroit, Marvin Jones. They talked to him today on NFL Network in regards to where he might go. It sounds like, just based on the interview, he's looking to kind of hook back up with his buddy number 9.
He'll be more than likely to do that too, man. I think he has some of his better years with, Matthew Stafford. That was funny that I didn't pay attention to their numbers. And he was like, man, when 9 and 11 get together, you put them together, man, and it's a problem. And he's advertising himself. And I think that either of the two will go well with Stafford, but I think that Kenny Galladay would be my favorite to go over there, but I wouldn't lose sleep if Marvin Jones end up being there too, because when he's healthy, that guy's dominant, man.
All right. So, that being said, y'all, that is our NFL talk for now. We will rejoin you when we come back on GameTime Audible on Wednesday when the actual free agency comes into play and a lot of these trades that have been made already actually take effect and are made official. Because wouldn't it be crazy, for example, if for whatever crazy reason the Matthew Stafford deal didn't go through on Wednesday?
Some guys change your heart too. You know, these change your hearts always happen. We had it before where Olivier Vernon was going to go to the New York Jets a couple of years ago. And I don't think that worked out. And Anthony Barr was officially about to go over there, and he got the contract. And the only thing he had to do was sign. And that's when the Minnesota Vikings came and gave him a little bit more money. But, you know, I haven't done this yet, but I got to hit you with an Omaha right now.
All right. Omaha, kill. Time for Audible, y'all. What we got here? What we got?
Taysom Hill just signed a 4-year, $140 million extension to stay with the New Orleans Saints. So it's a possibility that might be your start.
Who the starting quarterback of New Orleans was going to be. I think there's your answer.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, no, I must admit, that don't surprise me at all. I think as we know, I don't think I know that was the plan all along. That's basically how they set it up. So, yeah, that being said, that's going to make it a real interesting division there, again, between Tampa Bay and New Orleans. But that being said, we're about to take a commercial break. When we come back, Miss Pat, this is for you. We are going to honor the late, great marvelous Marvin Hackett. So we will do that when we get back. This, my friends, is the Get Off My Lawn Live GameTime Audible edition. Check us out.
Bitches. No, shorty, I got this one. I'm your boy Derek, and it's time for the remix.
Once again, coming to you live from Baltimore, Maryland, it's the remix with your boy Derek. Now let's talk about it.
We're not asking for your permission. We're not seeking your approval. We're claiming what's ours in the name of our ancestors. We are their answered prayers. This is more than a movement. This is a revolution. Black innocence. What are yours today?
Hi everybody, I'm Lily, and today I want And make sure you don't forget to like and subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. And make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel.
The views and or opinions expressed here on GameTime Audible is that of the host and or guests, and does not necessarily reflect those of the Nighthawk Network or its affiliates. Viewer and listening discretion is advised. All right, guys, we are back. This is the GameTime Audible version of the Get Off My Lawn live show, where we are talking sports this evening. We are going to do something a little special for you guys. Before that, though, check the comments. See no additional comments. So, okay, we will move on. Unfortunately, we have lost one of our icons. When I talk about people in terms of who they are and what they meant to a sport, I would be remiss to not acknowledge the death of one young man. Well, basically, he was in his 60s when he passed yesterday, but nonetheless, he was a young man, as far as I'm concerned, that passed and was a key part to the sport that he was a part of. We are speaking, of course, of this person right here, one marvelous Marvin Hagler. Now, people, marvelous Marvin Hagler died yesterday at the age of 66. As you know, he was a boxing champion. He was also a person who took that fame and fortune and moved on to other aspects. He did some work in terms of boxing analyticals for the networks after being a career boxer, as well as did a few acting roles as well. So there's that. Marvin Hagler, from most accounts, seemed to be a good person, did things for his community, which he came from. Like I said, he was a good champion. He fought some of the better fighters of his time during his time, and I really enjoyed watching his fights, and we'll miss him. You have any thoughts in regards to Marvelous Marvin Hagler?
Yeah, man, we was having a conversation yesterday, and I froze for a few seconds when I saw it. I was like, man, this is definitely not real. That was some of the first matches I've seen between him and Tommy and him and Sugar Ray Leonard, man, when I was a kid. That's what made me appreciate and enjoy boxing, man. I don't know boxing without him, man. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even really knew about it. You know, my dad let me watch a couple of those fights, man, and I was like, man, I really thought that when he fought that nobody could beat him, man. He was untouchable, man. So yeah, to see one of my, young heroes, pass away, yeah, that was devastating to me.
Yeah, so basically, like I said, I wanted to do something special to honor Marvelous Marvin Hagler. So what we will do, Ms. Patterson, I can't believe it. What we're going to do is give you guys a special treat. We have brought to you today one of the better fights of Marvelous Hagler's career, and I basically made it link up to something in regards to us as Detroiters. Of course, we being in the city of Detroit are a boxing community. We know a lot about boxing because one of the biggest boxing gyms in the entire world is located here, that being the Kronk Boxing Gym of Detroit, who is famous for many champions. But of course, its most famous champion coming out of Bronx, the Kronk Gym, would be one Tommy Hitman Hearns. And of course, one of the biggest fights of that time and maybe any other time was when Marvin Hagler fought Thomas the Hitman Hearns for the championship. And of course, that led us to have a fight in which, of course, Marvin Hagler won. But in regards to what happened at that moment, this is considered to this day to be one of the greatest rounds of boxing in the history of boxing. So without further ado, we're going to bring you the first round of that championship fight between Thomas Hitman Hearns and, of course, the late, great Marvin Hagler. Hope you guys enjoyed that. So here we go, y'all. We bring you first round of that fight. Enjoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is Thomas the Hitman Hearns. And in the blue corner, fighting out of Brockton, Massachusetts, weighing 159 1/4 pounds, with a professional record of 60 wins, 2 defeats, 2 draws, and 50 KOs. Ladies and gentlemen, the undisputed middleweight champion of the world, Marvelous Marvin Hagler.
All right, Pat. Pat. Good 8. Let's go.
So the two.
Okay, I gave both fighters their instructions in the dressing room. I'm just cautioning you now. Obey my command at all times. Shake hands. Good luck to both of you.
What you gotta do.
Let's go.
Very simple instructions. And plainly, it's Hagler against Hearns.
The camera's going to have to go.
Eloquent simplicity by Richard Steele. Let's go.
He knows, they know. Staring at each other through the national anthem. Stare down, of course, so customary before these fights. And here we go. Round 1. Hagler, right off the bat, attempting to get inside. He'd love to be able to pin Hearns on the ropes if he can.
A more aggressive start by Hagler. Look at him, right for the body. Marvin Hagler only wants the body. He bangs Marvin. Oh, Hearns may have hurt him with the right hand.
Hearns with the right. Hearns hits him with an uppercut. Hagler, he's hurt. Hagler is done. Hearns got inside. Hit him with the right uppercut. Marvin ties him up.
Marvin Hagler is still hurt.
So it was Hagler coming in like a bullet. Good left by Hagler. But Hearns didn't flinch. Marvin going for the body. Wild first round.
Oh, what a shot. And it was Hagler who initiated it, not Thomas Hearns.
And a left by Hagler. Hearns comes back. Another right. That one's done. Hearns. What a first minute of the fight.
Tommy Hearns has been able to drop that right hand in, and it has hurt Hagler, a surprise to many people.
Another right hand from Hearns. Hearns moving. Hagler still pursuing. Comes in with the right. Fishing with a left hook.
Here's where I believe Hagler should turn to righty. He could block that right hand easier, and he would land his own left hook.
With a devastating punch. Swelling near Hagler's left eye. Again, Tommy trying to come inside the hands of Hagler.
Low blow by Hearns. Hagler still looking for the body.
A right by Hagler. Good right got in. He has Hearns where he'd love to keep him on the ropes, but Tommy comes off easily. Another good right by Hearns.
Hagler is now shaking those right hands off, though, Al. He was stung a little early, and he's normally a slow starter.
He's also bleeding. Hagler is cut. Hagler is cut. Bridge of the nose.
Hagler getting a blow. He is banging the body well. He is taking shots to the head.
He blocks that right. Hearns tries to come in with the uppercut. And Hagler ties him up with a minute to go in a wild first round.
There's blood all over Marvin Hagler's face. Can't tell where it's coming from.
The blood had started from the bridge of the nose originally. Blood all over the face of Hagler here in round 1. But Hagler has him on the rope. Hagler working on him. Hagler relentless, but Hearns trying to box his way out. Half a minute to go in round 1. How far can this one go? That's Hearns hurt his face.
This is where Hagler wants it, but Hearns counter-punching off those ropes fairly effectively.
Tremendous first round. Hagler hitting into the ropes. Working on it, but Hearns uppercutting again. Hagler bloody. A tremendous sensational first round, and Hearns gets hurt. Hearns got stunned. Hagler was stunned early in the round. Great first round. Incredible.
And there you have it, y'all. A first round for the ages between Thomas the Hitman Hearns and the great late Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Man, I could watch that time and time again because, as you know, those who watch boxing now, you're not gonna get too many first rounds like that. Usually, that first round is a filling out process. You get a couple jabs, you might get a quick one, unless it's one of those fights where the boxer is just so overwhelmingly more skilled than that other fighter. Usually, they kind of play around in the first couple rounds. So for them to go ahead and get it in like they got it in that particular first round, I thought it was incredible then. it's even more incredible now looking upon it. What you think, Hugh?
That was boxing back then, though, man. They used to always put it online, no matter what rounds, man. That one round we seen with them, Marvis Marvin Hagler and Tommy Hearns, man, that's like a whole fight nowadays. It'll take a whole 10, 12 round fight to have that much action. It's not as much action and it's not as much excitement as it used to be back then, man. Those guys were warriors, man. And we already talked about that before, man. More guys is all about the money now, man. They'll dodge you. They wouldn't even want to fight you and even vacate their bills if, they feel like you're a threat to them. So back then, man, I just like the fact that those guys stood up for what they believe, and they were warriors, man. They went out there and they put it all on the line, whether it was the first or last round.
I mean, the thing was, at the time, keep in mind, of course, because the Hitman was from Detroit, I obviously wanted him to win. I even bet on him to win that fight. And after that first round, I really thought he was going to, because, like I said, at the time when I first saw that at live, because, of course, I went to watch that fight at a local bar here, I felt like he was giving him the better shots. But over the years, as I watched that particular first round again and again, I realized that that's part of what did Thomas Hearns in, because of the way in which the punches were going. Because Thomas was the longer fighter and he was used to being able to use his jab to keep his opponents at bay, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, he was straight at you. I'm not running. I ain't got time to be dancing. I'm just trying to beat your ass type of fighter. So because of that, he was getting some of the better blows in. And clearly, between those two styles, that's why he ultimately won the third round of that fight by knockout, because at that point, Thomas Hearns went on to that second round and went for broke again. Meanwhile, Marvin kind of slowed up a little bit and conserved his energy. So then when the third round came and he see that Hitman was trying to just swing for the fences, he caught him a couple good times on that downstroke. And from that point on, he beat the hell out of him. So next thing you know, he had knocked him smooth the hell out.
Yeah, he already knew. He said, man, he ain't going to be able to keep up his energy the whole fight. And sure enough, man, by the time that second round, then once it got into the third round, he was gassed.
Right. Now, of course, as we know, that's the fight that we remember the most that Marvin Hagler won. We also got to talk about the fight that we remember that he lost. That was that fight that he had with young Sugar Ray Leonard, where basically I felt like Marvin Hagler was winning most of that fight up until those last couple rounds. That last couple rounds were basically Sugar Ray showboated and boxed his way into winning the fight. To this day, I still say that Marvelous Marvin Hagler won that fight.
I definitely didn't think he'd lose that fight, man. I was pissed off because I felt like that's when I looked at boxing and I said, man, come on, man. You really see him winning that fight? How could you see it when you put the rounds in and, you put them in perspective? And it sure enough got worse as the years went along, man. More people won't put it on like if you hurt a fighter or if you gave him more of a beating than whatnot. I don't like that, man. I just feel like the boxing got real soft, man. You wouldn't get the opportunity to say this fighter was a better fighter and he won. A lot of them now say if you got the most punches in, you win, even if you don't damage somebody, man. I just feel like now, to this day, I was still hurt by that. Now, not trying to say just because I was a huge Marvin Hagler fan, but I just didn't feel like he lost that fight, man. So, yeah, it was like, I don't know who the hell they paid off, but, yeah, that was one of the most embarrassing things that I've ever seen in boxing, because I don't even know how Sugar Ray kept his head up after that, because he knew he lost that fight himself.
Yeah, I agree. And then, of course, there was a talk of them doing the rematch and whatnot. A lot of BS happened from that point on. Marvin, I think, like most boxers of that era, they probably took about 2 or 3 fights too many in the end. I mean, in the end, usually you come into a lot of people. I mean, remember, Leon Spinks just recently passed. Now, of course, we got COVID considerations. They have not said exactly what Marvin Hagler passed away from, but because boxers tend to overdo it to the point to where when they end their career, they took a lot of punches, a lot of blows to the head, and that usually affects how they deal long term in terms of their health. You have to wonder if that came into play with it as well. He was only 66, exactly, Miss Pat. That's my point, because that's older for some of us, but that's still relatively young when you think about it. I mean, life expectancy for your average human now is 77 years old, I believe. So to die at 66, particularly Marvin Hagler, who last time we saw him publicly was in pretty good shape in terms of his health. You know, he hadn't got weight or anything like that. He had been keeping himself up in terms of his health. So I'm kind of surprised that it happened the way it did. But like I said, in this era of COVID, you never know who might pass from day to day. But yeah, we definitely wanted to send a shout out to him and his family. Hopefully they are dealing with the grieving process the best way they can, and that God will uplift them in regards to their loss. Like I said, I am feeling slightly hurt. Like I said, some people's deaths just hit a little different in terms of what their significant meaning was to your life. Another thing I remember about Marvin Hagler outside of boxing was, of course, for those of you who know that famous 227 episode where he was a special guest, and they were basically keeping them at the household, and everybody was trying to keep the secret that he was there, and then the whole neighborhood ended up knowing he was there. It was a crazy thing, but yeah, I really liked. That was one of my favorite episodes of 227.
Yeah, that was a classic episode of 227, and I remember he was on Punky Brewster as well, man. Huge fan of that man, and it was good to see him, take his, boxing into another level on the acting stage. But
right.
Yeah, man.
And I actually forgot that he was on Punky Brewster. You're right about that. But keep in mind, they have the new remake of Punky Brewster. I'm looking forward to checking that out in the next couple of days to see what happens to Punky in her adult life 35 years later. I can say Selene Moon Frank, she turned out to be a very attractive young woman.
You say. I definitely agree with you.
Exactly. Okay. It's Patty saying, yeah, I remember when he was on 227. Absolutely. And Punky Brewster, she remembers both of those things. So yeah, that's what's up. So yeah, we wanted to do that for you guys. Now we're going to take another commercial break. Shout out to the guy David Ford. We want to send a shout out to you. We're about to air his commercial now. I'm going to talk about him a little bit on Tuesday, by the way. We'll get into that. But for now, we're going to show the commercial. And when we come back, we're actually going to talk NBA a little bit. We want to talk about the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame have announced their list of finalists for the Hall of Fame. We want to talk to you about that list, as well as we want to also have a discussion about the CFL, XFL. There's been reported that there may be a possible merger between those two particular organizations. And I want to talk about that in terms of what it means for football, but also what in terms it may mean for sports in general. So we will have those two conversations when we get back. This is GameTime Audible. I'm me. Who are you?
The Guru.
Hugh Lee. You heard him. We'll be back, y'all. Hold on.
See y'all in a minute.
Come on now. Okay, black on. Get into it. Black on. Look at that David Ford right there. That's his thing. Black on. He don't know Tom. Look at that David Ford. That's his thing. He don't know Tom. Yeah. Yes. Oh, here we go. Oh, I can't see the demons. I can't see the demons, but I can see the light.
We are creating black luxury across this country.
What's up, y'all? We are back. Game Time Audible. The Get Off My Lawn special edition of Game Time Audible, by the way. Okay, Miss Pat said my phone needs charges. Dan, talk to you later. All right, Miss Pat. Well, that being said, we are going to get into our next topic. That is being the Hall of Fame announcement. There are a new class of Hall of Famers being considered for our approval in terms of the NBA. We're going to talk about them now, some of those candidates, and whether or not we deem them appropriately worthy of Hall of Fame consideration. So that being said, folks, let's talk about it. All right. Among some of those people that are being considered for a Hall of Fame, the first one that I'm going to talk about, I feel is a no-brainer. That would be the one that we know as the truth, one Paul Pierce, formerly of the Boston Celtics and the Brooklyn Nets. In terms of the fact that he is among the top 25 scorers of all time. He has won the NBA championship, has been to a couple NBA finals, was the NBA finals MVP that year that they won the championship, by the way. I think he's pretty much a shoo-in. What do you think, Hugh?
Most definitely, man. He put in a lot of work, man. Even when the Boston Celtics wasn't even a good team, man. He stayed around and fought it, man, and fought. And it was cool to see, Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett go over there and to do what they did. I just wish that they hooked up a year or two before then, man. They probably would have had a couple more titles under their belt. But just him being a prolific scorer, man, and just what he done and his line of work should definitely have him in the Hall of Fame with no arguments.
Absolutely. So, yeah, he is definitely a Hall of Famer for sure. Another person on that list is one Chris Bosh. Of course, we know him from being one of the Heatles, of course, the Miami Dog. Look at me. The Miami Heat. And in terms of the championships they won under the tutelage of the one that they call the guru of the NBA, that would be on Pat Riley. And also, remember, he played with, of course, the legend LeBron James and another person that will soon be a Hall of Famer himself, I'm pretty sure, that being one Dwayne Wade. So that being said, I definitely think he's a Hall of Famer because you got to look at it from the standpoint of before those years in Miami, he spent the first 8 years in Toronto where he was a perennial Hall of Fame, a perennial All-Star. He was among the leading scorers and rebounders in the league. He basically got Toronto to the playoffs with those teams. He just didn't have enough to get over the hump. So that's why he joined forces with LeBron and Dwayne, and together they formed a team that went on to win 2 NBA championships while LeBron was there. But of course, as we know, his career was ended short by his health issues, that being the blood clots that led them to not basically guarantee his contract. And because of fear that he would injure himself or die on the court or something to that effect, they chose it would be better for him not to play anymore. And then, of course, nobody else was willing to take that risk also. So as a result, he had to retire. But that being said, even that year before he retired, he still was averaging almost 20 points a game and 8 rebounds and had became quite a good defender in regards to that too. So in terms of the Hall of Fame being for players that were the top of the heap at that time that they played, I think he definitely deserves to be a Hall of Famer.
They don't give him credit where credit is due, man. Like you said, he was a great player when he played with the Raptors. I used to only see highlights on TV, on ESPN and NBA TV to actually appreciate Bosh. And when he went on and played with D Wade and LeBron James, man, it just basically showed that we talked about that too, that he had to, be the weakest link on the team. Not saying anything bad about him, but I think his game was the most affected by that. He had to take a step back. And when D Wade finally took a step back and said, this is the Brian James team, he had to take a little bit of a back seat too. But at the end of the day, we know and we respect him because when people used to always talk stuff about how, oh, man, Bosh ain't really doing much or he's not a good contributor and he's not doing nearly as much as LeBron and D Wade. So as he got injured, you've seen how big of a role and how important that man was, the impact he put on that team. I definitely feel like that he should be a Hall of Famer just from the Raptors career, but him winning 2 titles don't even really mean anything to me. Just the whole line of work he put in, just look at his stats and his points and what he did to contribute to that team in Miami, let alone with the Raptors. Yeah, he definitely should be a Hall of Famer as well. It was unfortunate his career got cut short, but at the end of the day, it was for health reasons, and they didn't want that man to take that much of a risk for the game he did love, and it's the passion. And you know how it is. Some people just don't know when to let go. But I still feel like that was the best move for him. But still, the work that he put out there can never be duplicated, and he definitely deserved to be in the Hall of Fame at this point in his career.
Absolutely. Uh, of course, there's other people on this list. One of which is of note to me is the former three-time WNBA MVP, Miss Lauren Jackson. Those of you who know her work knows that she was a foreign player that came from Australia, went on to have huge success in the WNBA, is among their top 20 of all time in regards to scoring. And like I said, she has 2 championships with the Seattle Storm. She was a three-time MVP, and at the time when she played, she was definitely the most dominant player in that particular part of the WNBA, that being the West. Because, basically when she was on the floor, she could shoot from the outside, she could post up well, she was a good defender. And in terms of her career, I definitely feel like she is a shoe-in to be a Hall of Famer, especially considering when they only consider a certain amount of women to actually be in the Basketball Hall of Fame every year. More times than not, when you get to the finals in terms of that, more than likely you will be put in. So I think she's a shoe-in to go in as well. Now, there's other names on this list that I want to point out, a couple of them being some head coaches. Rick Adelman, for those of you familiar, in his days in Portland, and also the little work that he did in Seattle, and the college coach Jay Wright out of Villanova. Villanova, who of course have won a couple championships in recent years. So there's that. Any thoughts on those, Hugh?
Man, to see the Villanova coach in there, man, I think that he definitely put in a good line of work as well. And what was funny to me about it too is when I seen him on here, I said, man, he was one of those guys that his team can go all the way or they can lose in the first round, but it still didn't matter because I still feel like Villanova put out some good players and they basically played well under his tutelage. Definitely feel like of any coach deserving of it, it will be him and Rick Adelman. But definitely, I like Rick Adelman and what he did, man. I don't think he get a lot of credit as one of the coaches up here with the guys who was considered the Hall of Famers. But yeah, I definitely feel like from their standpoint in their line of work, definitely with the Jay Wright, man, because Villanova always have a decent team. They might not always get there all the time, but it seems like he was one of the parts, the significant key part of them changing their image from being one of these teams who basically was a decent team to always being considered as a championship contender.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, other names on this list of note, among them I'm looking at people like Tim Hardaway, Ben Wallace, and Chris Webber. 3 people that definitely during their time in the NBA were all-stars, and a couple of them played on teams that were championship contenders. Of course, Ben Wallace being the most notable of them because he won the title with the Detroit Pistons back there in 2004, but also because also he was a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, a claim that only one other person that I could think of, that being Bill Russell, could make claim to. So that being said, I definitely see that he is a Hall of Famer, but I would definitely say if this is his first nomination, I probably would not necessarily put him in as a first ballot Hall of Fame because I think that's the argument that comes up in regards to the people like Tim Hardaway and Chris Webber. What do you think, Hugh?
I definitely like Tim and Chris Webber, man, but no disrespect to them, man. You know, I'm a gamer. I feel like just from what Chris Webber did with, the Fab Five, he should go in the Hall of Fame. And that's just me being biased. But I definitely don't know, man. And it's no disrespect to him. He had a decent career with the Warriors and then when he went on to the Sacramento Kings. But I just don't feel like if he this time just was one of the nominees, I don't feel like he should be considered. Love Tim Hardaway too as well, man. He was one of the better players. I definitely like what he's been doing. And man, he had one of the most vicious moves, man, where he just paused and hit you with the crossover, man. It was like you seen the ghost. About time you turn around, he already laying it up at the rim, man. But with injuries and not having as a prolific career, and what's sad about it is when we say Hall of Famers, a lot of times you look at what type of line of work they did and titles. But at this point, I feel like Tim Hardaway will eventually get in, but I'm not quite sure right now, man. And, you know, I feel like Paul Pierce, from his line of work and being one of the top 25 scorers, and just from what he's done when he was in the NBA, that should be enough. And definitely the title does help. But I just don't feel like, besides having a couple of good seasons of winning in Sacramento and doing okay in Golden State, and same with Tim Hardaway, man, I just don't feel like they had enough work out there. Even when he was with Golden State and Miami Heat, I just don't feel like is this the first ballot situation for them. No, I feel like those guys can wait out a little bit, which I know they will be Hall of Famers, but I just don't think right now there should be.
Okay, so that being said, like I said, they will announce the Hall of Fame finalists who actually get in sometime in the next few months. Looking forward to see how many of the people on this particular list make it to the Hall of Fame. There's that. Basically, we are here now. It is 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are doing a special edition of Game Time Audible. It is me, your boy Eric Buck, and of course the sports guru Hugh Lee. Those of you out here checking out the show, we want to hear from you. Let us know that you are here and are paying attention, and you're liking what you're hearing. And let us know if you ain't liking what you're hearing. Check on in comments or in the messenger and let us know what you're thinking. That being said, we're gonna move on to our next topic of discussion for the evening. That is, we're gonna talk a little bit about the proposed merger between the CFL and the XFL. As those of you know, the XFL, in its first original connotation, was a very gimmick league set up by Vince McMahon. There was all the pageantry, the cheerleaders, the in locker room interviews, all that good stuff. It was kind of crazy them first couple of weeks. People was really enjoying it, and then the bottom kind of fell out. Next thing you know, they shut it down, and they shut it down. But then, of course, they decided to bring it back last year, and it was rolling pretty decently. The games were starting to slightly improve, but then, of course, COVID-19 hit, and because of that, that pretty much doomed the rest of the XFL season and the league itself. So at that point, Vince McMahon decided that he was shutting it down for good once again. The interesting thing is, because there were a couple of investors interested in buying the capital and the interest in the league, he basically ended up selling the league to one person we know as Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Yes, that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And as a result, he is now the principal owner of the entire XFL franchises. Now, what happens is he has determined, based upon the advice of some very savvy individuals, to set the league to start back in 2022. And during that time, he's had discussions with other folks, in particular the people that run the CFL. And what they are proposing is the possibility of those two leagues merging together to have a season where CFL and XFL is combined. Pretty much similar to what happened that formed the National Football League. Remember, there was the AFL and the NFL. Those two leagues combined to what we have as our president NFL, where we have the AFC and the NFC. So that is what they are looking to do in terms of CFL, XFL. What's your thoughts on that, Hugh?
Man, I love it because of the fact is we don't really get a chance to see enough of CFL as it is, but to be able to give them more of a spotlight. And we seen XFL, man, at first, from the beginning stages, where it was very gimmicky. You have the gimmicky names, the raunchy cheerleaders, you know, shaking their butts in front of the camera. It was like, at first, it was something we never seen before. And we actually was like, well, yeah, that's different. You know, it was different, probably in a bad way. When they shut down and they relaunched, it was a lot of innovative ideas. I was even saying to people, dang, some of these ideas the NFL need to pick up on and try to dissect because they had some rules in the games and it was just different things that they did that made it actually special this time around. The games were good. You know, it was guys that were NFL players and just didn't make it. They got an opportunity to go in and play and get a second shot. And I just feel like that's what that should be about, man. You know, it's unfortunate that you're using them as a stepping stone, but at the same time, I think that could put a lot of people in work. A lot of the ex NFL players can go over there and may be able to get a second shot, or if it goes well with the merger, they might just be comfortable where they're at. And then it'll be a situation where if the NFL don't feel like they're what it's worth, or if they don't pay them their worth, and release them and they don't have a place to go, which now in the NFL, if you get released or if a team just don't want to get you flat out, a la, a lot of the players who've done bad in the past, but I'm going to go with Colin Kaepernick. I don't know if he ever, put himself on the XFL or the CFL level. It was thrown out there before. Did Vince McMahon wanted him to play in the XFL? But it gives so many people the limelight, and it'll let you know that the NFL is not the only show in town anymore. And I think that that'll definitely help put a little heat on the NFL, and it'll definitely help in a competition standpoint.
True. And another thing I'm looking at in terms of leagues is, remember, for the most part, these major sports leagues, there's monopolies on them in terms of America. In other words, the main league obviously is the NBA, the National Football League, MLB, what have you. But because there are several thousands of athletes that are able to play those games at a high level just here in this country alone, I feel like it would be advantageous to create more leagues to where we would have more opportunities to see games and actually, just like when you take, for instance, wrestling right now, what's going on. Of course, you have WWE, but you also have rival leagues like AEW and leagues in the past like NWA and what have you, where they all would have different shows on different nights, and people basically gravitated toward all of them for whatever reason. So I would definitely like to see this actually happen between the CFL and XFL. Remember, there was a time where the CFL had American squads in the CFL that played for a couple seasons. For whatever reason, they basically got muscled out. I mean, clearly the NFL has something to do with that, but also the CFL just saw that it wasn't quite as advantageous for them to be a part of the American market. So that being said, hopefully they work out something to where it works out good for all parties involved. Now, that being said, we got one more topic we want to hit at y'all. Still wait for people to comment and chime in. If you have anything you want to say in regards to what we're discussing, or you want to switch the topic to something that you would like to discuss, please hit us up in the comments. We are looking to hear from you. Meanwhile, folks, we want to talk about, before we head out, a little bit about what's going on with the tournament. As you know, it's championship week in the NCAA, and there will soon be the selection show that should be happening any minute now, in fact, in terms of what teams are going to make it to the bubble in Indianapolis. As you know, this year, unlike any other year, because we're still living in times of COVID, the tournament this year, all games, that is all 68, including the playing games, will be played in Indianapolis in 6 different locations throughout Indianapolis. And basically all teams that are going to be part of the tournament will be quarantined to Indianapolis for the entire time they are part of the tournament. So that means there are some teams that will basically be in Indianapolis for 4 weeks. Now, of course, that doesn't really affect the learning because, as you know, most campuses are still, for the most part, online learning as opposed to in-class learning. So I don't think it's going to affect the athletes in terms of that. But in terms of being isolated from other people in order to not have COVID be a part of the tournament, I kind of course, feel some type of way about it. Clearly, this is a cash consideration move being done because they know the tournament generates a lot of money, not only for the schools and for the NCAA, but obviously around the country because, of course, you have sports gambling, especially now that several states have established online betting to where you can have tournaments and things of that nature. Let's see, I have a comment here. Actually, that's my comment. Let us know if you are feeling the show. We want to hear from you. Okay, have not heard anything in regards to that. Hopefully, you guys are checking it out. If you guys hit us up on the rebroadcast, by the way, let us know how you like the show. Let us know by chiming in at any particular point that you had something to say in regards to the comments. Let us know what's going on in terms of anything you would like for us to change, implement, and what have you. We would very much appreciate those things. That being said, back to my comments about the tournament. Like I said, unfortunately, a couple teams tournament ran early, well, ended early, I should say, because of COVID. They had COVID considerations, and because of that, that knocked them out of the tournament. And now they basically wait to see if they're going to make the tournament. In the case of Duke University, they have determined that because they did not make the cut in terms of getting past the rounds they needed to make the tournament final, they basically feel like COVID has killed their season, so they're not going to consider being a tournament team, even if they are picked to do so. Well, they have officially ended their season altogether. What's your thoughts on that, Hugh?
It's sad, man, because COVID played a huge part in a lot of the players not even being able to play and anticipate this season. We were surprised that they didn't do a bubble or even have some type of bubble aspect to the game, because when we seen how successful the NBA was, we thought that they were going to follow that. The NBA got sloppy and, wanted to, do it like regular and everything's okay. But I just feel like, man, they should have just took on that stage, man. And for the college kids alone, man, that just basically let you know it's all about the money, man. Because it's like, you think, if I'm a kid, I don't have no career right now. I'm trying to play to go to the big league, which is the NBA, and I don't want to take that risk. I know I'm advertising myself and I'm putting myself out to bed to be one of the top ranked people in college, one of the top prospects to go out and go to the next level. But I just didn't feel like they kept these kids safe, man. And it's a shame because, like, Duke, North Carolina Tar Heels, UK and Kentucky, it was just sad to see that. I would like to see more of the players getting an opportunity to stay healthy and being in a bubble atmosphere so they could compete. Because I looked and I was like, man, this is a strange year because none of those three teams are even going to be in it. But at the same time, I just felt like if they had an opportunity where they would have sheltered them and put them in a bubble or kept all the kids safe, that it'd have slightly been different. Who knows?
Absolutely. Now, that being said, I hope it works out for the best. I'm actually quite upset when I consider, being a component of women's athletics, in particular women's basketball, the fact that there is a bubble situation going on for the men's team, but of course they're going to let the women play as they normally would the tournament, where there will not be a bubble in terms of them, so that they will be playing on campuses and whatnot as they normally would for women's tournament. It's very unfair. I feel that they feel it's so important to keep the men safe so that they can contribute to the pocketbook. But because the women's tourney does not make that type of money or generate that type of interest, they choose to just let them deal with COVID the best way they know how. I think that's a little.
Yeah, that's disrespectful, man. Because they're women is want to play and they want to go to the WNBA, and their lives are just as important as the men. But I just don't feel like they look at it like that. Most times they feel like, okay, which one give us the most revenues, and that's what they look at. And I still feel like the women's just as excited as the men. Just don't like the fact that they're actually picking sides. And how you think that make the women feel, man? That's just really sad.
Well, I go back to the comments that Kim Mulkey made earlier in the year in regards to COVID.
Yeah, and she's absolutely correct.
They were even playing the season to begin with because of COVID and how devastating it had been to people in general, in particular some of these campuses at the time, where they basically had to shut down. I mean, remember earlier, just a little bit earlier, that University of Michigan not only shut down the basketball programs, the men and the women, they shut down all the athletics, period, because of COVID considerations. So there's that. So just the mere fact that they're even in the tournament at this point is kind of miracleistic. But in the end, my real question is, what happens to you if we get in that bubble, and then because people may take 2 to 14 days to test positive for COVID-19, it's determined that there's an outbreak among at least a couple teams. Do they shut down the tournament altogether, or do they just basically kick out those two teams and keep it pushing?
You know that's what they're going to do. I'm going to go with B. I'm not saying I'm with it. I don't want nobody to hear the show and be like, I'm being selfish or anything. But, you know, if it was up to them, they'll say, we're going to kick out the teams who, you know, had it and go on with the show. They was doing that in the NCAA when it came to the college football. You seen that. They would definitely say, hey, if it got to the point where we're going to have these teams play and some of the teams have like COVID, those teams will be out and we'll get the teams in who we feel like should be in. Like if that's why I feel like it should be a top 8 teams. You shouldn't have the Final Four. You should have 18 tournaments. But, you know, eventually they'll get there because it took forever for them to get to the Final Four teams. But I just don't like the fact that in college that they play those games. But yeah, they would definitely go with plan B and they would kick those teams out. Goodbye. And then they'll move on. They'll probably get some of the other teams who wasn't even deserving of it. And they'll just say, hey, let these guys fight it out. And since the other teams were COVID affected, just let them figure it out.
Absolutely. Well, that being said, we about to wrap it up, guys. Thank you guys for joining. Before we go, of course, we have to give a shout out to the other members of the Nighthawk Network. Among them are Hey Bitches Live with Helena Hologram, 9 p.m. tomorrow. Her look at me. Her guest host tomorrow will be one Chris J. He is a podcaster in his own right. Check that out. We got Monumental Moments in God's Word, which you can find on Thursday evenings here on the network, as well as on YouTube and Instagram. We have District T with Big Meech. They will be on this evening for Said What I Said Sunday. Join them in the comments, or you may actually be able to join them on the show if you have something of pertinence to talk about. Meech is going to allow you 5 minutes to come on the show, make your comments and thoughts known in regards to that, and we'll have discussions from there. So that is District T with Big Meech. That should be about 9 p.m. this evening. We have Stan Mason's Behind the Blue Curtain. It was an excellent show yesterday about racism. Encourage you guys who are on the information page to go back and check that out. The Girl Stop podcast, of course, with Elena Miller and Letitia Williams Howard. Pastor Sean Love presents. He has submitted his latest episode. I will be airing that tomorrow, hopefully. This time I actually do it because, you know, every week I get caught up in the rabbit hole and forget to put it on there. My bad, Sean, but we got you. And hold on, we of course have GameTime Audible that will be back with you again Wednesday to discuss things in regards to sports, the latest on the free agency and the NFL. Going to talk about the Olympics as well. The fact that the Olympics are going on and there's special considerations being made. Want to hear about your thoughts in regards to that one. But until then, folks, we are going to get out of here. Remember, always, if you have any comments or complaints, things you want to add, suggestions, we want you to send them to the following email address, the Nighthawk Network, 313@gmail.com. That's NightHNetwork, 313@gmail.com. There will also be a phone number that will be made available to you sometime in the next month or so in regards to that. Also be looking out for Israel's Room that should be coming to you soon, as well as the show known as The Gospel According to Pride Hunter. Looking forward to bringing that to you also in the network as well. So that being said, we're about to get out of here. Hugh, any final comments before we go?
Yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Once again, you know, you can head over to Pure to the Game, check out and see all the free agent frenzy talk and see who signed and see who went to different teams and what have you. I still talk about basketball. I'm going to put up who's in the tournament right now, the tournament in the bracket, because I've seen a lot of the teams who's in and who's out. So, yeah, just stay tuned and Pure to the Game. And like he said, man, address the comments. If you want us to talk about anything different, hell, if you want us to talk about wrestling or hockey, whatever thing that you're interested in that you want to put on the show, this is not just about me and E. This is your show. So, yeah, just let us know what you want us to talk about, man, on air. We're getting closer to the baseball season. I know it's a lot of baseball heads out there. Yeah, just chime in. You know, we don't know until you let us know.
Absolutely. So that being said, we're going to get out of here. Shout out to the Sports Guru and shout out to all you guys who have joined the show. Look forward to talking to you again on both Tuesday and Wednesday this week, as well as Thursday, because this Thursday we're going to be doing a Get Off My Lawn After Dark edition as well. So we're looking to tune in for that as well. Until next time, we are about to get up out of here. This has been Get Off My Lawn Live, Game Time Audible edition. Because of that, I'm going to give you, for our close this evening, our Game Time Audible close. So that being said, y'all, we will catch you next time. Maybe we won't. Hold on. There you go. All right, y'all. We out.
GameTime Audible is a Nighthawk Network.